Hey everybody, it's Kenny K here with a new review. Fright Night 2 from 1988. A movie that actually, personally, I don't think is being talked a lot about. Everybody, everybody talks about the lightning in a bottle first Fright Night, which is one of my favorite vampire movies, at least in my top three. I think The Lost Boys, I think, is better. So I'm guessing The Lost Boys, Fright Night, and Salem's Lot. Bam, there you got my top three. Now here, you've got most of the cast back. The only one who's not in this is Amy, Marcy Beers. Marcy Beers, she plays because at this time I believe she plays Marcy Darcy from Married with Children with Ed O'Neill and Katie Saget and Christina Applegate, and it became a very successful series. So, so, she took the right steps, right? Um, but it's weird they don't mention her at all in the movie. This movie, the first one gets a 7 on IMDb. Here it gets a 5.9. The remake even gets a higher score, 6.4 or 6. But the remake is an underrated one. I think a lot of people don't appreciate Colin Farrell's work and the tweaking that they did, like him not being invited in the house, that he just tears out the gas pipe, that they have to get the fuck out because the house is gonna blow up. It's pretty good idea. This one gets a 5.5 from you. It's a little lower score, but listen, the movie is directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. Now, Tommy Lee Wallace, we know he's John Carpenter's one of his buddies. He was asked to direct Halloween 2, but he didn't want to do it because in his mind Halloween 1 was the perfect picture. He knew that was lightning in a bottle. He didn't want to destroy his movie, so Rick Rosenthal did it. uh, Tom Lee Wallace is also in his band, the Coupe de Villes, because Carpenter, he has a band that he plays, and he makes the soundtracks for most of his movies are in his studio, but he has one super sepia toned MTV clip. You have to look up YouTube, uh, John Carpenter MTV Trouble in Little China or something. Yeah, it's it's super funny. Yeah, it's super funny. The Coupe de Villes, that's the name of the band. He did direct Halloween 3, which back then flopped. Now it's become a cult classic. He what did he do more? Tommy Lee Wallace. He did do more. He's a prolific guy. He did more. He's together with Annie from Halloween, Nancy Loomis. Uh, Annie, the first one who gets killed of the girlfriends, and the writer is Tom Holland. So he had basically everybody back except Tommy Lee Wallace, a capable director, took over from Tom Holland, but written by Tom Holland. So yeah, you got William Ragsdale again as Charlie. You got Roddy McDowell again as Peter. But this time, instead of Amy, there's Alex as his girlfriend. He's now at at college. Um, but there's of course a new vampire in town. played by Julie Carmen. She plays Regine, and later on we know that her last name is Dandridge, basically the sister of Jerry Dandridge, and she reveals that Jerry was a very old vampire, apparently 1,000 years old, and she's there for revenge on Peter Vincent, but also on Charlie Brewster. But she really wants to let Charlie suffer. She also has a team with her. She has Buzzword. It's like her Lurch. He's this big, muscular guy. Um, he but every time he sees an insect, he takes it. He says the Latin name of the insect. It's like that Leslie Nielsen movie, that vampire movie, Dead and Loving It, with that actor from Ally McBeal. I don't know his name. That he plays Dracula's minion when he is eating that bug from the table, and the warden of the hospital of the insane asylum says, "Right there, it's fighting for its life. The dear thing, the poor thing," and he has this paw in his mouth, sticking out of his mouth, and he's like, "Nothing, sir." Great. You have that. So he is actually the replacement of the minion from the first movie. Only this one, he likes to eat bugs. Then you have Louis, who's a werewolf or a werewolf vampire. I'm not really sure of that because
you're supposed to bite her on the neck.
He falls in love with Alex, the girlfriend of Charlie, because Charlie stood her up at some point, and he had tickets to a concert, and he went with her, and and Bosworth is always saying you got to suck her dry, asshole. But he's like I say, he's a werewolf. I'm not sure how that works. There's even a scene where they go bowling, and he rips off a head, and he's out of the hole where the bowling ball comes. There's a head on, and he's super angry, Bosworth, and he takes him by the neck, and they are fighting. But you also have Belle, apparently I think a guy, a transvestite, skating vampire. These are the three team members Regine takes with her. Now, the movie is basically so you've got the movie starts with Charlie explaining to a shrink that he's been seeing for a long time that Jerry Dandridge wasn't a vampire, he was a sociopath. He killed Ed, my friend, and he kidnapped Amy and almost killed her. That's the only time the name Amy is, I think, said, referenced throughout the movie. And I was lucky. I killed him, and I was lucky because he wanted to kill me. So he's sort of got over the vampire. He sort of, blacked it out. But Peter Vincent still believes in vampires. Now, his show is still on, Fright Night, but the directors are already getting bored with him again, and because it's always the same thing, vampires, and now even more so because he knows that they're real, right? He calls him a real vampire killer because he is a real vampire killer because he killed Jerry, and But what this movie has, and what the first one didn't had, and this one doesn't have. I mean, this one doesn't have is simplicity. The first movie had simplicity. You had Jerry Dandridge, and you had Charlie Brewster and Peter Vincent, and it was simpler. And simple is good at times. That scene where he is biting that woman's neck, but then he sees Charlie looking, and he's like pulling down the shades with those nails. That was an epic scene. Simple yet effective. The fact that he gets invited by his mom, simple but yet effective. We know he can come. It had more horror elements. This one was more all over the place. Because Julie Carmen, she's not that much in the movie, and Charlie in this movie plays. I'm not sure. He plays more of a. The movie starts, like I said, with him going to the shrink, him having a date with Alex, and then he goes to his dormitory, and Regina followed him. He gets seduced, and you think, oh, what a fucking asshole.
Yours, good lips.
Charlie.
And he knew how to use them.
Fucking asshole, Brewster.
Do you know how to use your lips,
you know?
Charlie?
Got a perfectly good girlfriend? No, she's a vampire. And what did Jerry in the first one? He seduced Amy. So the vampire, of course, seduce people. And then, so she bites. She doesn't bite him, but she like seduces him, hypnotizes him. She, with her nail, opens up a cut, and slightly with her sharp teeth, she slices a little blood out, and slowly but surely she visits him multiple times at night, feeds on him a little bit more, and a little bit more and more and more. So this movie is more of a victim than a hero, because at some point the movie, when they go to this party, and Regina hosted it, and you have Belle, you have that Lurch guy, was it Bosworth, and they are holding this vampire party. So Charlie's on edge. Somebody with vampire teeth opened the door. He immediately puts a cross in his face, but Peter Vincent is kind of scared. He's like, ugh, like this. And then he says, ugh, don't overdo it, guy. Fake teeth. They were, giving people fake teeth. Then you see Regina doing this weird dance with Charlie, which was real. He was hypnotized, but people thought it was an act. An act.
She's a performance artist.
White eyes.
There's a logical explanation.
The yellow eyes, and then and then they do like this, and they play it like it's an act. Even Peter Vincent loses his show to Regina, and she does these weird, fucked up things that a vampire does, but it's all an act, and they like it. They eat it up, like, whoa, how cool, But then Charlie says, okay, it was just an act, and he kind of, again, drops it, but then Peter sees with the same glass that he saw in the first one, he repaired it. He sees that she doesn't have a reflection. he immediately wants to go after Charlie, but Regina already knows he saw her, so she basically she basically at some point stands before him. Should we get the exposition that she is the sister of Jerry, and that she loved Jerry very much, and this and that, and that you will die, Mr. Vincent, but I know you were reluctant to kill him, so Charlie will get it 10 times worse than you do. And then she flies away like a bat. And then he gets fired. He gets the fuck out of Dodge. He goes to a bar to drink, and then he gets his. Yeah, it's weird. There's even a moment when the shrink says, "You know what, Charlie? Go bowling." He has sunglasses on because he's becoming a half a vampire, or not yet at least. And he's going bowling, and then the vampires even go, the team, you know, Bosworth, Louis, Bell, they go bowling. They kill the owners because it's nighttime, and they start to bowl, and it looked a little bit ridiculous to my taste. I know this is a horror comedy, but this was, you know. And actually, the heroes of the movie are, at some point, Peter Vincent comes back. He arms up with cool weapons like guns with like a pencil in it, but it has a sharp edge, so it's like a stick, a mini stick, to perforate to perforate the heart. A crossbow, holy water, a thing that's, I mean, remember in the first one when Jerry has to do the test with the holy water, he said, I are you calling me a liar, Charlie? I got it blessed by Saint John, and I'm not sure who he calls a preacher. That was bullshit apparently. So it was just tap water, because now personally, if I was a vampire, I wouldn't take that tap water. Even I wouldn't take the risk, because tap water, holy water, really helps in this one. He kills a vampire in this movie with tap water, and it acts like acid. So I wouldn't risk it as being a vampire. I mean, come on. I know he does something like this in front of the fire. Maybe he knew it was tap water because it had a certain density or something, but Jerry drinks it then. But but like I said, he kills it. And also Regine is after more vampires. That's all something that Jerry wasn't doing. He was just calling, and it was a simple get up, call an escort, a prostitute. She comes at an escort at home, eat her, subdue her, hypnotize her, eat her, chop her head off, and be done with it. Simple but effective, right? Uh, but in this movie, Regine doesn't kill her vampires like it doesn't kill her victims like that. She makes vampires out of them. So she does create a she wants to create an army of vampires. So like I said, it gets more and more complicated. And like I said, the true heroes are at some point then Peter Vincent and Alex, his girlfriend. But there's a moment when the werewolf character wants to attack them, and she is a fast reader, so she can read. People. That's apparently a thing. Fast readers do like this, and they only read certain words to understand the sentence. And she read Dracula because she knows about Charlie's. She's constantly standing her up. Constantly. She's a beautiful young girl, and he doesn't deserve her. But then in the library, they have a date. Or like I said, Louis is coming there because he knows she's there and he wants to feed on her or have a date with her. Then, of course, he becomes a werewolf. But apparently, so Charlie had roses for her. But apparently, roses, if you use roses on a werewolf or a vampire, I'm not sure what it was. He was, in my eyes, a werewolf. But he eventually dies with an arrow through the heart. So, and he says, because he's like the comedic relief of the group, and he says, bullseye, bullseye, dude, like that. He has these sideburns, like here. It's a pretty. He was actually one of my favorite characters in the movie, Louis. Yeah, he was funny. He, no, I liked him. But they put roses in his mouth, and he starts to, like, it's like garlic in his mouth, and he starts to burn more. It starts to burn, and he's like, and he jumps out of the window. So I never knew that roses, if you're a vampire or werewolf or a vampire werewolf, that had an effect. Apparently, in the book Dracula, this is referenced somewhere in that book. Never heard of that. That roses can hurt a vampire or a werewolf. I'm still not sure what the guy was, but I think he was a werewolf because he died because he got shot with a harpoon gun. They also had this blanket from the church, and they killed Belle with it. The skating vampire. They put it on her, and she completely melted. And the way they killed Bosworth was cool because, so I'm actually going a little bit too fast. So what they're actually doing is they're making Charlie a vampire, but she wants to make him a vampire so he can live forever and she can torture him forever. That's her idea of punishment. Pretty fucked up punishment. Well, like I said, the shrink from the beginning is also a vampire at some point, and he goes after Alex. Alex kills him because she now, of course, because she was attacked by Louis, she now believes the vampires are real, right? Like I said, she's making more and more vampires, and at some point they get into the room where, like I said, Charlie is in, and another random vampire comes in. They kill him with the holy water that I said he acts like acid, and then they kill Louis because he's crawling against the wall and almost killing Peter Vincent. But and Charlie almost tries to bite Alex because he's now half a vampire, but they throw that blanket on him and it stops. That blanket is like a repellent that from the church where it cross on, and red silky blanket, and then eventually uh, there's a scene where he has to bite her. Regine says, "Bite her, bite her." Peter Vincent. So it's a cool scene. Peter Vincent and Alex and the rest, they go towards the coffin area of the vampires, and you see this big guy Bosworth coming in, who's constantly plucking insects, and uh, Peter has these two guns with these two, sticks but sharp. He shoots at Bosworth. Bosworth takes one. Bosworth takes the other one, and he's like, he takes them. He wraps them around Alex, her hair, so her hair is up. So Alex, Charlie gets the blanket off, so he can bite for for Alex her neck. But then, because she says, "I love you, Alex, I love you," and his love for her overwins, and eventually she takes, because she's being held by Belle, she takes her hands with the she had sharp claws. Behind him is Bosworth. She puts it in Bosworth. She slices Bosworth open accidentally, and you see all these bugs coming out of his stomach. Pretty gross. Then they kill her by throwing the silk blanket on. She dies, and then you have a much less entertaining fight than the fight between Jerry Dandridge. You see her true form, but it's not as imposing, in my opinion, as Jerry's. And eventually, she dies. They sort of sabotage her because it's getting light. They sabotage her coffin. Then Peter Vincent takes this shard of glass, tries to aim it, the sunlight, towards her, and she basically burns. That's the way she dies. Boom. That's the end. You know? The ending of I liked that they armed up, weaponed up, geared up for this, you know, fight against these monsters. But I liked that um, she had a team of monsters like Louis. I like Louis. He was funny. I'm still not sure if he was a werewolf or a vampire or a were-vampire. I'm not sure. I think something in between. But Charlie was nowhere near the same as the first one. Nowhere near. He was more of a victim in this one because, like I said, he was from the get-go of the movies being bitten, and not completely bitten, but slowly but surely. She was basically torturing him. That's what she was doing, torturing him. He got weaker. He always had to wear sunglasses. He did weird thing. He looked more and more to women and their necks, and of course Alex noticed that too. So it's and so on. So the movie went from there to there to there to there to there. It's like the movie, the simplicity of the first one. You got the vampire, you've got the hero, you got the antagonist, the protagonist, and that's it. Here you have these. Okay, now some exposition. Now these guys are vampires. Apparently, the shrink is a vampire now. Uh, what? Okay. Um, Apparently, holy water. Why they didn't brought holy water from the church was beyond me because that shit really helps. It makes acid out of a vamp. It acts like acid, and that blanket that's like a shield for a vampire. Vampire can't touch you. It's but okay. So what are my likes? My likes are that they did have most of the cast uh, with them. Competent director, competent writer. They had all the same actors. William Ragsdale, like I said, I didn't like him in this one as much as in the first one. The first one, he was the protagonist. He was better. You know, Evil Ed. I liked that character. Amy was funny. She was no funny. If there's one thing actually that wasn't good, it was Amy. Amy was like this moaning little bitch. But okay, Alex in this movie is far better. That's also like Alex's girlfriend. Um, Peter Vincent was more badass than in the first one, especially when he's gearing up. So I liked Roddy McDowell. I liked Alex's girlfriend. I liked Louis the were vampire. I also liked Bosworth, the limo driver and zombie minion. And that scene when these three go bowling is kind of funny, but I don't know why are they going bowling? Because at some point the psychiatrist says to Charlie, "Go bowling." Why? It's good for you. Okay. So he goes bowling, and bowling for some reason will clear your mental problems. That was Julie Carmen did a great job as this mystic lady, but you didn't see her too much, and that's a shame. You didn't see her too much, and that's a shame. I really kind of liked her performance, uh, and I actually wanted to know more because you think, okay, the movie goes all over the place, but that little exposition about her brother Jerry, I like know more about that, how they were back then. No, we get these stupid special performances where they think she's not a vampire. She is a vampire, but everybody thinks she's faking it, and it's and Charlie, like I said, he acts like a bitch in this movie. uh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's a little bit. The movie is definitely not as good as the first one. A 5.9, 5.5. I may see this movie again, but it was all over the place. It didn't really gave us the exposition. We know, okay, it's Jerry's sister from the first movie, the vampire sister, and the only thing we know he was 1,000 years old, and that's it. That's it. And yeah, she was into making an army of vampires, right? Because she had the V team, basically. She had. Bosworth Louis, although Bosworth wasn't a vampire, and Louis, like I said, is a vampire werewolf or something. And then Belle, the skating vampire, was also, she always wore her skates. Her, his. Any case, this movie is definitely worth a watch. It's a movie that's extremely overlooked. I would say give it a watch because it does neatly tie in with the first movie. You've got most of the actors back, um, and it's something different. It's I'm I guarantee you you're not gonna like this one as much as the first one, but it's not gonna be a shit fest. No, it's not gonna be a shit fest. It's gonna be something that I think you still are are gonna have enjoyment from. You know, um, but don't suspect to be blown away if you like the first one. No, this is totally not the same. Just totally, it's not as good, but it's not shitty too. So that being said, subscribe. Let's have some more horror, vamp, zombie, slasher, crazies, fun. Okay, see you later, guys.